you, sir? 2 times in one day, special. Yes.
All right. We'll go ahead and get started. Start with the statement from Coach and then jump into questions.
All right. Man, I can't thank our fans enough. It's creating such a competitive advantage. I mean, you can see the record in the 3 years, and it just makes such a big difference. So I can't thank them enough. Not only with what they're doing and helping us create a competitive advantage, but every time our recruits come in, they're just blown away by the atmosphere and hopefully the opportunity that they get to play in. And we've got 3 more. We need everybody there. I know the Colorado game sold out, but, man, we're going to need everybody there for all 3 games. So get your tickets. Scout Team Players of the Week, Ashton Hampton on defense and Ellis Davis on offense. Man, I watched this Arizona team, and they're a really good football team. Beat a really good Utah team at Utah, and that doesn't happen a lot. I don't know exactly what their win streak was, but, going in there, it's really tough. Don't know Brent very well, their head coach. I got to hang out with him in the Big 12 meetings. They have a Fiesta Bowl deal with the Big 12 meetings, so Matt Rule was there. Matt Rule knows him really well, says a lot of great things about him, and really respects him as a coach, and so that goes a long way with me. I watch his team play, and they're a really good football team. We're facing a quarterback that is really good. He's very mobile. We have struggled with that, and so we're going to have to do a good job of keeping him in the pocket. It's going to be tough because he does a great job with his feet, prolonging plays. They have probably one of the best, if not the best, wide receiver in college football, number 4, McMillan, and they have a great chemistry together. They were high school teammates, and they chose to go to Arizona together, and they chose to stay. And you can tell they have great chemistry. The running back, I thought he ran number 7. He's a transfer from San Jose State. I thought he ran really hard against Utah, made some big plays. On defense, I do know their defense coordinator really well. I've known him for a long time, Dwayne Aquina. Whenever he was at Texas, I had some guys that played for him, and so I've known him for a long time. They're a talented group, and he's got them playing really hard. They're led by number 92 up front. He's a transfer, and then number 5, their linebacker. He's a first-team all Pac-12 linebacker from last year, and so it's going to be a great game. It's going to be a lot of fun. I think that, if you're an offensive fan, I think you're going to see 2 really good offenses go at each other, and I think both the defenses, are going to have to. It's going to be what defense steps up, and we need to step up, and we need to continue to create some turnovers to help our offense. But it's going to be interesting too. The second time this year that we've, I guess what they used to call the Pac-12 after midnight or whatever it is. It's going to be a late game. We're going to try to break the day up a little bit different than what we have in the past and see if that helps us out. We'll be ready to play, though. The guys are in good state of mind. We have a lot of confidence right now and got an opportunity to go 1-0 in the Big 12, and that's what we're going to try to do. With that, open up for questions.
Coach, your teams are 2-10 after trailing at the half and 3-9 on the road. How do you change practice this week to prepare them for Arizona?
And I like when you put those stats out, especially the stats that favor us in the last 3 years. So this morning in our staff meeting, I pulled up the last 3 years of our plan to win. And so the games that we've won, Iowa State, Kansas, and Baylor, I know I'm going to be Captain Obvious, but we're winning the plan to win, and we're winning it, decisively. Like against Iowa State the first year, I think there's 7 of them. We either won or tied 6 of the 7. When we beat Baylor, we were 5 of 7, and then last year at Kansas, I think we were 5 of 7. And so, as Lance said to me this morning before he lifted the guys, good football has to travel. And the losses that we've had, in every one of them, we've either not won single one of the plan to win, or we've been 1 of 7 in the plan to win. And so we got to go back and really focus on, don't beat ourselves. We got to do a good job of running the football. I'm glad we didn't have Taj playing. He went with us, but I'm glad he's going to be ready to go for this game. And then, practice, we don't change, what we're doing in practice. I mean, the practice and the preparation is where your confidence comes from. And so we're going to practice like we have. We will add crowd noise like we always do whenever we're going on the road. But, we're going to practice and have a good week, and that preparation is going to give us confidence.
If you like the last stat, then you'll love this one. In the last 3 years, the team is 10-3 in games decided by 8 points or less. What does the defense have to do to shut down talented running back and a talented quarterback?
Yeah, we're and a very talented receiver, top 10 pick. You go and you watch K-State. That's the game I'm watching right now, and he's still going to get his catches. It's one of those deals. I mean, the guy makes all the contested catches. You can double him, and they're still going to throw to him. The biggest thing, I think, going into this game is we got to limit explosive plays. That's been Achilles heel of ours really the last 2 weeks. We got to limit the explosive plays, make them catch the ball in front of us, tackle the ball, make them drive the field. And then we've got to take the ball away. We've got to do a good job of we have this year, but we got to do a good job of taking the ball away, knocking the ball out. Anything where it comes to if you don't have ball security, we've got to hit you and get the ball out. One of their very first big plays in Cincinnati, we had a big hit and the ball came out. We just didn't get it. They ended up getting it, but we've got to do that this week. But as far as, the quarterback, he's going to extend plays. He's got a great feel for the game. His stature and his movement reminds me a little bit of Kyler Murray, and if you watch him, that's how he extends plays. He chooses not to a lot of the times, but I think he can. He's a really good athlete, so he can run. He usually just gets the ball out before he has to take off running, and so it's going to be a test. I think the biggest thing is us keeping the ball in front of us and not giving them explosive plays and make them drive the field.
Go ahead, Justin.
Coach, how'd you assess your offensive line with the mix-up? And it seemed like it changed some things in the run game, and pass pro seemed like it was pretty solid too.
Yeah, I'm excited. That's really excited just from the standpoint, it was a big loss when we lost Vinny. And so we just, again, felt how do we get our best guys in the best positions. I think they'll play even better this week. I think that Sterling really felt comfortable, and that was the first game he's played in college football at the guard position, and he felt comfortable. He brought some physicality in there. Caleb bumping out to where he feels more comfortable. I thought it was one of his better games, more physical games. We're going to have to do a good job, man. They've got some good pass rushers. They've got a defensive end that has really put some pressure on the quarterback, and so we're going to have to do a good job. But I think that's one thing that you're going to see, especially with that combination, that we're going to get better and better every single week in the offensive line.
How have you felt about your defensive front too? It seems like you got a little bit of pressure from the interior, but the edge is kind of a mixed bag, it seems like.
Yeah, I'm excited for he knocked some rust off. Charles, I think he got 30 plays. I'm excited that he's back. That's one thing. I felt like the linebackers, we were able to bring some linebacker pressure. The pick six, Ben Roberts was right in the quarterback's face, and I think that was what also caused the interception. But we got 4 sacks on the year, and so it's one of the deals you want to get better and better at that, but you've got to decide, hey, this is what we are. Is it better to play coverage and rush 4, or is it better to heat them up? That's something that we're really going to have to look at this week, because it is one thing. There's people that have got to the quarterback, but you don't get to him a lot because he gets the ball out fast, but he also can really move in the pocket. And so that's a thing, game plan-wise, we really got to decide what we're going to do.
Go ahead, Jared.
Sticking with the pass rush, is it, in terms of not generating a lot of sacks, is it more of what's going on in the secondary, or a little bit of both, or what's going on?
Yeah, man, it's both. my yesterday, okay, so from the school of thought where I'm from and raised is if you don't ever see a pass rush, as far as a pass rush move, you're not rushing the passer. So we got a lot of pushing. We got a lot of, a lot of pass rush is speed, and then if you're not getting there or depending on the set of the tackle or the guard, now you go to power. We've got a lot of just going to power. Well, it's really not. We're just pushing. I mean, there's multiple times that they're not rushing. Like, we're not taking practice to a game. That's one of them. And then the other is the part of the coverage, but then the other is like, I don't feel like we're very physical with receivers whenever it comes to our linebackers. We're not walling. We're allowing, receivers, to kind of run free to get to their spots. It's happening at corner too. We're in cover two. We just open up. We don't slide with the receiver and force him anywhere. And so that allows a lot of open windows. We also leave windows. I promise you, there's, TD's probably going to say he's frustrated. There's no person on earth more frustrated than the way we're playing defense right now. And, we could go into we could sit up here for 2 hours and talk about the things that we are not doing on defense that is extremely frustrating. And I learned this a long time ago, but insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over and expecting different results, so hopefully we are going to be more physical with receivers this week, and we're going to close windows, and we got to practice that. I mean, it goes back to what we're going to do in practice. I mean, that's one thing that we've got to do, and we got to break some habits that we were able to do maybe year one because we had a Tyree Wilson. We had the two linebackers generated more sacks year one than what we had the last 2 years. So that's one thing right now that we're continually digging into, because I think our offense is explosive. I think we're doing a good job. I think we're making some really timely stops on the defense side of the ball. But if we're going to sit here and go 3-0 in the Big 12, we got to play better defense on Saturday.
Well, on a positive note, after 2 games, we talked about the early season struggles. Y'all have won 3 in a row.
Yeah.
Playing better football overall. What's gone into the improvement this season?
I think a lot of it is, continually understanding, the team and who we are. I go back. I don't want to take anything away from Washington State, but there's a big difference. We all see it. Chris told me before we came here, I don't know if I could have given the ball more to Taj Brooks than what we did on Saturday. I mean, that guy changes a lot. So I think that game's different. I also think, we really hadn't had and got in the situations to where we did Saturday and we didn't convert the fourth down, but, we've put the defense in better position. If nothing else, I mean, even we talked about it Saturday, whenever they got the ball back and they scored, at least they had to drive the field, and it wasn't big plays. And so that's something that we've got to continue to do to cut down. I think the improvement, though, we're playing more complementary football. It seems like the last 2 weeks, and y'all probably can find the stat, but it seems like every time, whether they score a touchdown, we're scoring a touchdown, or we're at least kicking a field goal. We're going point for points, and we've been able to get the lead and make people play from behind, and I think that puts pressure on you, and you got to be perfect in some situations like that, and we've taken advantage of it. Yes.
So I just wanted you just talk to me a little bit about Aiken and what you kind of saw from him Saturday, and then just overall his journey on this team, overcoming injury after injury and finally having a healthy season and really being a pivotal aspect for this offense.
Man, I don't know if there's a tougher person on this team than Coy, and maybe just period. I mean, y'all need to ask him about his feet. He has a size 14 shoe on one foot and a size 12 on the other. And it goes back to whenever he got stepped on by a horse and broke his leg and got up and was walking on a broken leg. And his dad tells him, hey, man, you need to sit down. and was hitting a growth spurt and a cast, and that's why. The kid is just as tough as nails. Huge care factor. Like, it bothers him. That drop that probably was a touchdown, he just eats himself up because he is such a perfectionist. He's learned a lot of like getting to what's next because, a year ago or 2 years ago, especially his freshman year, man, we would have a lot of conversations of, hey, man, you have to get to what's next because, he'll let it eat him up because he just wants to, I think more than anything, he wants to be good for his team, and for his teammates. And then he does, man, he expects a lot of himself. And it comes from the way he was raised. His parents are incredible. His dad's a rodeo coach, and, he's a tough guy. And man, he means a lot to this team. And you go back, I think I said it on Saturday, or I said it at one point, but they get a new stat about like how fast people are playing, and he's playing as fast as anybody in the country, on average snap after snap. And so he's a big part of this, and he's also like the Energizer Bunny. I don't know if the dude ever gets tired. You're kind of rotating guys out at different spots, and the guy's just, he never gets tired. The routes are run the exact same way. He blocks his tail off the exact same way, and we're trying to get him more involved in special teams in a couple of ways, hopefully this week because, man, he's such a good player. I'm glad that it's funny. Coach Kitley's cousin is this offense coordinator at Stephenville. And if you go back to Coy's recruitment, our fan base, I think I got more at Coach McGuire about that player than anybody else that I've had in 3 years. It's really funny. And we knew about him. And we were sitting there, and I didn't have a scholarship. And so I actually drove. I was in Dallas, Fort Worth, and some of the coaches were going to go see him, and nobody could get to him. And I said, well, shoot, this is an important dude. I got to convince him to walk on. So I actually drove to meet with him, and I met with him one-on-one. And then the next thing you know, he's come up here on an unofficial the next week. And I told him, I said, look, if you'll come to Texas Tech, as soon as I have a scholarship open, you'll get that scholarship. And even before we got to the summer, we ended up having one open, and he was able to sign whenever he got here. And so it's a really cool story, and he's going to end up being a great player for Texas Tech.
Go to Ryan in the back.
Hey, Coach Ryan Campo, KLBK Sports. You ended the first half calling a timeout. They missed the kick. Game ties at 24. Obviously, at the end of the game, you call a timeout. Is that more of a personnel thing, or do you truly believe in icing the kicker and you're 2 for 2? Are you going to do that every time now, or what's that thought process for you, kind of going forward?
Yeah, I think it's got to be – that's a good question. I think it's got to be in those situations, I think it's got to be a longer kick. I think the shorter kicks, especially with guys that are really good kickers, he's a good kicker. He's been real consistent up until that point. The first one was really kind of to ice him. I will tell you, Knox, our deep snapper, has had some really good conversations with me on how to ice a kicker. And he brought up the point of, not letting him get his steps in, calling the timeout, where a lot of people will call it right before the kick's going to go off. He said he thought it was more important to not let the kicker get the steps in. So the kicker had marked off all of his stuff whenever we called the timeouts. The second one was that we had our max block in. So that's Mason Tharp and John Carlos Miller in that package. And so we wanted to make sure we had the personnel right, at the same time.
Go ahead, Nate.
Cincinnati nose tackle Dante Corleone. He called Taj the most patient back he's ever gone against. From that perspective, what are you seeing from Taj's improvement in just his patience of waiting for the block before he kind of takes off?
Yeah, I hate to ever criticize Taj. There was one play, though, I was like, hey, Taj, you're going to have to go one way or the other because Sheridan Wilson's holding up like heck on that nose guard. That nose guard is really good, man. He played really good, and he'll continue to play better. He's still playing himself into shape because he missed a lot of camp. And Taj's vision, and there's backs that have vision, but I've never been around a guy that can be that patient and then all of a sudden go 0 to 60 like that. I mean, he's so explosive. He's so explosive off his cuts, or so explosive wherever he's, shaking or making a move, and then it's 0 to 60. And the thing that so many people, man, I don't know how you tackle him. He's got such great balance, and his thighs are so big, so if you're hitting him low, a lot of times you'll bounce off of him, and then if you tackle him high, you're for sure going to bounce off of him. He's got great vision, and man, I keep telling these NFL scouts, the Colts were in here yesterday and today, and I'm like, guys, I don't know who you take over him. You can keep talking about long speed with different backs and everything, but a total back, I mean, there's one play, that number 11, their linebacker is a dude, and he's very physical, and there's one play he is coming on a blitz, and Taj hits him right in the mouth. Every other back like that is going to get blown up, or they're going to cut the guy, and Taj stoned him right there in the hole. There's another time that they brought two backers, and it was kind of delayed. Taj got the first one and then got a hand on the second one. It wasn't even his guy on the hand on the second one. I mean, everything he does is just, I don't know who as a total back is better than Taj Brooks in college football. And you can keep saying long speed, and he just keeps ripping off big plays after big plays. And I'm not trading him for anybody. I'll tell you that. Everybody else can have whoever they want in their first pick. I'm taking Taj Brooks.
Kind of a parallel question about that. What are some of the things not named Taj Brooks that either offensively or defensively that you guys have had to adjust this season, that you feel like your team has really adjusted to well and taken heart in what you guys were trying to get them to do, maybe different from what you were starting with from spring camp and in the fall?
Well, one, it's really not what we changed or different, but the other kind of guy, when you watch us, if we're ever in a lull, find number 3. I mean, if we're ever in a lull, find Josh Kelly. He continues to make big plays over the middle. I think he and Taj are kind of they really get us going and get us started. I don't know how many times it's going to happen, and it's not like a thing that, we did have the speed option in the game plan this week, but the more and more confidence that Barron feels, and he's at a real high level right now. He pulled a ball and had a big play. I think he got a little anxious on the second pull. I think he should have handed that ball off. He had another big run on the speed option, and so he's feeling really confident. And then, it's we were talking about it. I was actually talking about some different play snaps and everything like that. I thought they were going to be really good, but I think our 3 tight ends are even better than what I thought. And so they're becoming more and more a bigger factor in different ways in our offensive scheme. And that's tough because, just the matchups and the different formations we can get in with the tight ends. And they all 3 contributed last week, whether it was in a catch. Mason had a big first down, on his catch. And then Conyers, kind of plays everything and had a big run at Wildcat quarterback. And then I think John Carlos Miller is just kind of really complete package. And so I thought they're going to be good. I think they've really kind of exceeded my expectations.
And there's been started to be a little pushback in the analytics department with regards to going forward on 4th down and kicking the field goal, because the points put pressure on a team. Even if it's only 3 points, you're still getting those 3 points where they've got to keep getting those scores in. Is that an adjustment that you guys have done as well, or have you seen any of that type of conversation going on?
No, I think the conversation is happening a lot with a lot of different coaches. I'd heard Coach Satterfield talk about it this summer, about you start the game and a lot of those numbers are you're not taking into account, like the weather, or you're not taking into account like Washington State, Taj Brooks didn't play. You're not taking into account a lot of that stuff. The one thing for us that we've really tried to do these last 2 weeks is get the points. Like it seems like kind of like what I said before is, if they kick a field goal, maybe it's a 10-point lead and now it's a 7-point lead. All right, well, let's take the 10-point lead. Yeah, 14 would be great. might say, hey, we're going for it right here, or it's better to go for it, but hey, let's kick the field goal to keep the 10-point lead. Keep playing off of that to where you're not getting to that one score. That was what was frustrating the other night. We gave them the ball back to either kick the field goal or win the game on that last possession. Taj gets a big run, and and then we turn around and we go negative play right after that, and then no positive plays after that, and we have to punt. Luckily, Jack had a good punt, and we downed it at the 10-yard line, and really, you look at the field, and they had some unfortunate things happen to them too. They had 2 times to where they had guys get hurt. One was able to limp off the field, but it allowed us to sub, so that cut some of the time down, and then the other one, they had a 10-second runoff.
Coach, just having had to play some younger guys in the secondary just because of injuries that maybe you didn't think you would play them, or at least this much, do you think you're as deep in that position as you thought you would be back at the beginning of the season?
Yeah, I mean, that's allowed us to not just go in the tank whenever it comes to the secondary, because we do have, so many guys that we can play. They're just young. I'm really optimistic that we're going to get Lux back. I know he was running this morning. I hadn't got the report yet of how he felt and everything. And I think that'll help. But I have been minus a couple of plays in the game. Saturday night, I thought Macho played well. Horn's playing really well. He's really physical. I mean, that's the one thing that I think is showing up is, man, he will hit you. And so we just got to keep trying to find. That's one thing going into this game is like who's going to be the best combination in the secondary, because these guys are really going to test us. 4 is really going to test us. They're big receiver. So just trying to find how we can match up. But us having that depth has allowed us to, stay in some games. I mean, when you have to play 3 free safeties and you're still, I thought all 3 of those guys, whenever they came in, did some good things.
Anybody else?
Don, I was going to make sure you got a chance. Man.
You got to get the mic first, though.
Well,
Hey, on the subject of timeouts, you had to use the 2 early in the game, like in the first 7.5 minutes. The second one in particular looked like you were pretty perturbed.
Yeah.
What happened in those 2 instances?
Yeah, we addressed that yesterday, and I get very frustrated whenever you have to use a timeout because of personnel, and both of those were personnel issues, and that's all on coaches. 2 weeks ago I used a timeout in the Arizona State game whenever they were driving, really tried to light a fire under the defense, and so I want to keep my timeouts as much as possible, and especially now, you get the 2-minute timeout, and you got an advantage of because the middle 8, we won the middle 8 again this week. The middle 8 is so important, and you want those timeouts going into half, but it was a personnel issue, and man, that's coaching. That's unacceptable, at any level. But for me, it really makes me want to pull my hair out, because I've been responsible for both of those in my career on both sides of the ball whenever it comes to personnel packages and everything like that. And I think that you got whoever's responsible for that, it's got to be really keyed in. One was Barron took the blame for it. It was a miscommunication on the formation, and so we were off the ball. We were fixed to snap the ball, so we'd have got a 5-yard penalty, and the other one was a substitution issue on defense.
And back on your offensive line, shuffling for a moment, you had said this summer that Caleb's athletic ability showed up more as an interior guy than on the edge. So kind of what was the thought process in switching him and Sterling? And the second question of that is, you said Sterling played guard for the first time in his career in a game. How much before last week, had he had much at all practice time at guard? No. And I was really proud of him and Coach McGuire, because they spent a lot of time together, getting ready. I mean, he's going to know the offense, and
understanding the play call and everything, but it's still different from the standpoint of what your assignment is and what your job is. Whenever you look at Caleb Rogers, and the reason that he has a chance at the next level is his athletic ability. And, I'm talking to the Colts guy yesterday, and he's really intrigued by him because he's been at our practice or can see on film that Caleb's actually played all 5 positions. And with a roster where you're traveling 7 to 8 offensive linemen, if you have a guy like that can do that, then he's really, really valuable. His body type, arm length, everything like that says he's a guard. His athletic ability allows him to do that. He feels more comfortable at tackle. He's more physical at tackle. And so when we were sitting there, whenever I went in and sit down with Kitley and Clay, I was like, we have an opportunity to try to get the best 5 on the field. I said, I don't know who the best 5 is whenever it comes to, there's a battle between Dalton and Ty Buchanan. We're going to start cross-training Ty Buchanan also at guard and tackle. Again, just so we're putting experienced guys on the field. If somebody's helmet comes off, like it did the other night with DC, DC's helmet came off, so Caleb went to guard and Ty went to tackle, but it'd be good to know that Ty could play guard. It's sometimes just, I don't know what it is. Caleb is, when you watch him, he's more physical at tackle than he is at guard. So my mindset whenever it came to bringing Sterling is I want to be physical. We've got a running back that is really special. So how can we get the most physical offensive line on the field to take advantage of Taj Brooks and what he can do? And so we felt like, moving Caleb out would bring that physicality out in everyone. And I think we can continue to build off of it.
One more follow-up real quick on the going for it or not going for it on 4th down. You talked, of course, about how that's kind of customized each week, and each week you talk to the people who the
analytics champion.
Championship analytics.
Yeah.
So what becomes of that relationship?
It's still good. We have the book. We've actually moved the book to the sideline, and it's worked out the last 2 weeks because now I'm not talking over people on the headset. I can talk face to face. I think it's been good. The analytics said to go for it right there on 4th down. By what we were trying to do, we have punted that ball the last 2 weeks. That was my call. I thought the down and distance set up for it. I felt good about our 4th down package. And if Taj would tell you right now, if he could do it again, we were running outside zone with him at Wildcat, and we went inside instead of outside. And he would tell you, man, he wished he would have taken that ball outside. But anything I ever say anything about Taj Brooks, it's hard to criticize because that guy does things that is not human on the football field. But we're just going to continue. We've got a plan. We talk about that plan. Hannah and I talk about it throughout the week, and then when we have our staff meetings on Friday and Saturday, we go through and I tell the coaches, hey, this is how we're going to play this. So Kitley, whenever we're at this point, don't worry about it. Just, hey, you got to get the 1st down if you're on this side of the ball versus sequencing plays. I mean, that's the one thing when you're going to go for it on 4th down, your 3rd down call is so important. If you're on a point where you're not going to go for it, on that side of the ball, or if you're on your own 20, then you got to go get the 1st down by the play call. And that's the difference. I think he's done a really good job at that. And then we're going to have to see what kind of game it is, because if it turns into a scoring fest, we got to take more chances to make sure that we're scoring with them.
All right. Thanks, Coach.
All right. Thank y'all.
Last 3 years, teams 10-3 in games decided by 8 points or less. What does the defense have to do this week to shut down another talented offense?
Play a lot better than we did on Saturday. We got to give up less explosives. Unfortunately, this is a team with T-Mac and Fafita. They do a great job in the scramble drill. Is really when they're most explosive. They continue plays, and he finds a way to find him. And you got a big long receiver who's very physical, makes contested catches, and he can run away from people. So he's probably a first-round draft pick receiver. And his high school quarterback is now his college quarterback. They got a great rapport, and they do a great job of targeting him and finding him.
How has Ben Roberts and Jacob Rodriguez's success help your defense?
Well, you've got two guys that have played somewhat together now. Obviously Ben last year at this time, everything was coming fast at him. He's gotten much better as time's gone on, and finished the year playing really well. And I think you have a familiarity when you've got another linebacker in Jake coming back next to you. They're tackling really well. They're taking better angles to the ball. We've got to do a better job with them in coverage. We're still not getting depth in our drops and hands on receivers, but I've really been pleased with how both those guys have been playing lately.
Who has stepped up, Coach, making plays that haven't been seen on the stat sheet?
I don't know what's on the stat sheet, but the guys I've been impressed with, I think BJ and AJ, Brendan Jordan and AJ McCarty, both have been making a ton of plays. Now, AJ's obviously last week showed up, but our edge play has gotten much better this year. We're looking at ways to get both those guys on the field more, which is probably the natural question you're going to have. But I've been impressed with those two.
Coach, what have you thought about DeBraylon Carroll so far? It seems like he's really getting off a block, especially the last couple of weeks. But I guess what specifically has impressed you about his game?
He plays really hard. He's got great quickness. He probably moves the best of our interior guys, and he moves and can work to an edge and get to the quarterback. So we've got to get him more reps, I think. Duda and Q have been doing well, but I think DB's got a chance to make more plays, and so we've got to give him those opportunities.
I'm curious what your thought is here. It has obviously Braylon Lux being out has hurt you in the secondary, but I guess how big of an impact do you think it has been, in the passing game for you?
Well, I think you look at the stats of the games he's been out, and we haven't played real good pass coverage. So, not to disparage the guys that have come in, we're just playing with younger guys. I think Macho's getting better week to week, but we're talking about a freshman, and that Cincinnati team had some weapons. The quarterback is a really good player. You got a receiver. Everyone's got one in the Big 12 that is probably a draftable guy. So, he's got to grow up and play. He's playing a little bit ahead of the number of reps wise what we anticipated, but that's what happens in college football. And you got to have a next man up mentality and be ready to go. And he won the competition to get there. He's done a really nice job against our receivers, who I think we've got a core of receivers that are as good as anybody in the league. And so I think that's given him confidence, but then he's got to, put that more consistently on the field.
You mentioned the idea of getting AJ and Brendan Jordan on the field at the same time. What kind of skill set do they have? Like, where else could you foresee them playing in the secondary?
Well, they're both smart players that, when you're playing an edge, you're going to be playing man coverage. You're going to play in zone coverage in your blitzing. Well, our boundary safety does the same thing. Our field safety, not as much, but there's a lot of similar skill sets when you're talking about those positions. So it's coming up with packages that, can use their skill set to, get both of them on the field at the same time. And, obviously that's got to match up with offensive personnel. You may not want to have them both on the field if they're getting heavy 2-back, 2 tight end stuff or 3 tight end stuff. So it's, depending on personnel, who you want to match them up with.
And then the Saturday night, there was a situation where Braylon was out, obviously, and then Chapman Lewis goes down. And that's somebody you and McGuire both have said have been leaders in the secondary. Who's the leader, or who stepped up in that instance, and who do you expect to step up going forward? As far as a leader, I think CJ does a really good job on the back end of being a guy
who hasn't been here a long time, but he's got as many reps as anybody in our secondary. He's a really smart player. I think he keeps guys calm on the back end. The other day, you've got true sophomores and redshirt freshmen surrounding him a lot of the time, and they're going to do some good things and some not so good things. And so we've got to have a calm voice in there, and I think CJ does that for those guys.
Jeff on your left.
Coach, what do you have to do to get your defensive line to get through the pass rush and actually get home? They've had a lot of success in stopping the run and forcing some issues, but completing that play, is it just a technique that they need? Is it just more time?
Well, there's a few things. The biggest thing is recognizing pass and working edges. We're working down the middle too many times. At times we were getting pressure on quarterbacks and getting hits on quarterbacks, but we got to get there quicker. And then, we've probably been more vanilla a little bit because of our youth, and it's what, we're able to, be able to line up and play fast in, where in the past we've blitzed a little bit more and simulated pressure a little bit more. As our guys get more comfortable, we may be changing that a little bit. But we got to look at everything. Every year teams are different. Every week, with injuries and stuff, we're different. And so we've got to be able to, adjust with that and try to get our players in as good a position as possible. And then when we are in a four-man rush, have them understand, what we're trying to do with our rush, whether it's with games or whether it's with straight rushes.
And what are some of the things that you've worked with your guys on since even going back to the spring that you've been very pleased with their adjustments to how you were coaching something different or trying to get them to do something that they've adjusted to well and you've seen the results on the field?
I don't know. It's always the level of detail within the call that you've got to be able to teach and be able to coach and make sure guys are doing it consistently. I've been impressed with our younger guys are while we're not showing up a ton on the stat sheet, I think our edges are setting good edges in the run game, and it's allowed us to play pretty good run defense. You throw out the quarterback, once again we had a quarterback, the leading rusher. Typically, if you're limiting his carries to scrambles and stuff, that's where you want to be. You played a back last week that I think our guys were very, very physical, and I'm not sure what happened with him, but our guys are getting there and limiting their number one threat for the second week in a row and making somebody else other than who we thought going in was going to be their bell cow to have to beat you. This week they've got a really good back who, again, it's Big 12. Everyone's going to have one. But I think, where they really get their explosive plays is with four. So we've got to be able to balance rushing a passer as well as playing the run at times, but we've got to know where four's at.
Coach, in terms of preparation, does anything change for you this week, knowing kind of the road record you guys have had over the past 3 years?
I recognize that we haven't done as well on the road, but it doesn't change your preparation. We don't care where we play. It's about how efficiently we play, limiting the big plays, creating takeaways. If we do that, I think we'll have a formula to be in the game in the fourth quarter and hopefully find a way to get another win like we did last couple of weeks. But taking our game on the road shouldn't matter. It's a 120-yard field. Each end zone's 10 yards deep and 53 1/3 wide. So it's just getting our guys to understand. On defense, when you go on the road, it's different because we can actually communicate. At home, it's hard. Our crowd does a great job of getting on the opponent. Our guys also feed off that energy of the crowd. We have to generate our own energy, and so part of that is explain it to our guys that we got to be the juice. The guys that are on the sideline have to be the energy to help our guys on the field because the crowd's obviously not going to be helping us. But as far as preparation and practice, it goes back to the detail of having our eyes in the right place, aligned properly to the formation, and then getting our cleats in the grass and knocking someone back. And if we'll do that, we should have, a chance to have success on Saturday.
All right, we'll finish with Don.
You're
Tim-
always the closer.
The closer. Tim, 3 weeks in a row, you've had a 5-yard pass turn into about a 65 or 70-yard play. In terms of defenses, X's and O's, is there anything similar on all three of those, or were they all three different in how you viewed them?
I guess the biggest similarity is we haven't leveraged the ball properly. And, on this particular one, they ran a slip screen to the boundary. I mean, we're only rushing 4. It's not like you're in a zero pressure where they get linemen up on people. And we've got to get linemen to retrace. We've got to get guys to not have one-on-one, let them block us one-on-one in space. When they're in space, as a defensive back, especially if you're on a lineman, you got to make that guy miss and get to the ball carrier and still leverage the way we need to leverage it. And then the backside guy, who when he gets there, has got to get the guy down. And a couple of times now we haven't been able to do that. And it's concerning because it should be a play that, all right, maybe they get 10 yards on the play or 12 yards, whatever, but the ball's got to be downed, and we've got to make sure that everybody understands on every play we've got to have a burning desire to get there. You don't know if the first guy or second guy is going to make the play, so don't ever assume and get more guys to the football population-wise. We can't have guys – half jogging the ball and then sprinting their tail off because they thought someone else was going to make the play. And so it's a matter of drilling that in practice, and we've got to do a better job as coaches doing that and ensuring that our guys are running to the ball every play. And I think our guys have been playing hard and running, but the one time that it shows up when you don't, you never know when that play is going to be, so you better run every time.
Also, the other night you had all 3 free safeties get hurt in the first half. How close were you? I guess you got Jordan Sanford's hand bandaged up before Plunk got hurt. Who would have been the 4th free safety, or what kind of juggling were you going to have to do?
Coach Yates and I were talking, before that happened, and we have a couple of freshman safeties that have been practicing, on the scout team field, and that's what we were down to. It was either that or converting somebody else, and it's a tough situation to be in when you have that, because obviously you don't plan for that. But we've got to get those guys in the rotation, practicing more so that they know more of our game plan. They really haven't practiced with us since training camp. Once you get into the season, they're the look team for our offense, and they get some periods where we're doing team competition, 7-on-7, against the other 3s, but they're not getting a ton of game rep competition, so it would obviously limit what we would be calling.
So that would have been someone like a Malik Escara as opposed to like moving.
Yeah, we were talking
Jordan's-
about Malik or Peyton Morgan.
Well, good. All right. Thank you.
Coach, you scored on all but 2 of your drives against Cincinnati. What do you want to work on this week?
Yeah, 2 things that stuck out for me personally is, we got inside the 6-yard line there, first to go up to 6, and we couldn't punch it in. We got 3 there, which was still good for us, but we got to put the ball in the end zone there. A couple red zone opportunities where we didn't put it in the end zone, so we got to get that fixed. And then late in the game, man, we got to get in 4-minute drill. And we got to be able to run out the clock and not give those guys another opportunity to go down there and score. So those are 2 areas we got to get better this week in case we get in that scenario again. We got to go finish the game and not let those guys have a chance to come back.
Well, how do you attack a defense that stopped Utah on 4 times on 4th down this week?
Yeah, they're coached really well. Coach Akeen has been doing this for a really long time, man, and he's a really good coach. They're coached well. Kids play extremely hard. Got really good talent over there. So again, it's going to come down. We got to have a great game plan. We got to execute at a high level, and make sure everybody's doing their job and go see what we can do.
Barron, settle down. You've been able to have the balance between the offense and the running and passing. How has Barron's play evolved since last year?
Yeah, I mean, first and foremost, I think it helps tremendously that he's healthy, and 100% healthy. And man, I just feel like we have so much more continuity right now. I think last year we were searching for some guys at times to make some plays for us on the perimeter. And I think when you go back and if you looked at the last 2 years here compared to this year, at the receiver position in particular, those guys are playing almost every snap. Coy Aiken's not coming off the field much. Caleb Douglas isn't coming off the field much. Josh Kelly's not coming off the field much. And so there's just more chemistry with those guys, and that's just kind of part of it, man. Quarterbacks get comfortable with certain people, and they just do have more chemistry with others. They know where they're going to be, how they run certain routes and some of those things. And I think there's just a comfort there. And again, I mean, the number one piece of comfort's having 28 back there by his side, man. And I mean, as we all know, I mean, he's the best out there, so that helps a lot as well.
Coach, I'm curious about your thoughts on the offensive line. It's been an ever-changing group. It seems like this changed some things in the run game, having Porsche at guard and Caleb back at tackle.
Yeah, I mean, I was proud of those guys, man. Like you said, I mean, we've kind of had a little, musical chairs going on a little bit there, for the first 5 games. But man, Sterling came in and did a good job. Really hadn't played guard, in his college career and stepped in and did some good stuff. And Dalton Merriman's getting better each week. And Caleb, Caleb's played a lot of right tackle in his career and feels really comfortable out there. So I think he felt really good, did some really good things. And again, I think Sheridan Wilson, we're seeing him continue to get better each week. Some stuff to still work on there, but getting better. And again, I mean, Davion Carter, man, he's really the one that's kind of been the steady Eddie of them all. He's playing really good football for us right now, and super smart football player, and helps get some stuff lined up out there too. So I think Coach Clay McGuire did a great job with those guys this last week, rotating those guys and getting them prepared to play. And again, I thought that was a really good 3-man front we saw last week, and I thought we did a good job against those guys.
Yeah, I was going to ask specifically, what did you think of how Sheridan Wilson was able to handle himself against an All-American defensive tackle?
Yeah, I mean, again, man, I mean, number 2 got his way a few times, and that's going to happen when you play a guy like that. But there's some times too where Sheridan got his way with him, and that's kind of how football goes. And again, you're talking about an old veteran All-American type player and a younger guy just making his 5th career game, and Sheridan. And again, I thought he did a really good job, man. He's battling for us. He's cleaned up some of the pre-snap penalties and some of those things. He's getting us lined up, and we're just playing faster. I think he's gaining more confidence, and I was really proud of him and what he did this last week.
And is there a secret formula to find more success in the low red zone like that, or is it just executing at a higher level, or what?
Yeah, I mean, a little bit of both. I mean, I go back and we. Between me and my quarterback, we got to be a little better, on that 1st and 6 right there, 1st and goal at the 6 play. We got to hand that ball to 28 instead of pulling that one, and then we just got to be better, And again, that starts with me getting better plays down there and getting us in a better rhythm. We were kind of set to be 1st and goal at the 2 right there, and then we got to the 6 and stuck with the play call we were gonna run, and I probably should have got something different. So that's on me. We just gotta have a better plan and execute at a higher level down there.
We'll go Jarrett, Zach, and Jeff. Coach, there's been some key conversions on 3rd and medium and long between Barron and Josh the last couple of weeks. What's gone into that? What do you see in that connection and just all that?
Yeah, I mean, we've changed. I mean, as you guys know, I heard somebody asking the question to Coach earlier. We changed our 4th down approach a little bit, and so I'm being a little more aggressive on 3rd downs, trying to really get the 1st down versus play for that magic number. And so again, man, it kind of just depends on what they're giving us, man. Like we had a play where we threw Josh Kelly a deep sell route on 3rd and long, and they kind of came out in a defense that they hadn't shown at all, and they kind of went blitz cover 0 almost type look with the backside safety there, but on the backside key and 1, and Taj came up and gave some time for Barron, and Barron stood in there and made a really good throw. And they went drop 8 a couple times, and so we hit some of those hitch throws that we knew would be there all week. And man, Josh just does such a good job getting open, and Barron has confidence in him, and he's a guy that we like to try to get the ball to on 3rd downs through those money situations. Josh has been really solid for us, so just keep trying to work him getting the ball.
High expectations for offense at Texas Tech, as you know, averaging over 40 points, I believe, and balanced attack and all that. But there's a lot of frustration over that one drive where one of the only 2 drives where you didn't score. It's late. You're trying to run the clock, all that. Does the mentality change as a play caller, and is it all on you and Barron in terms of calling the plays? Just give us an idea of what goes on in that.
I mean, we have a 4-minute plan, and we discuss as a staff, in those scenarios, like, hey, what do we think are our best runs here? you know, and we hit them on a big run, and then we slowed it down. We come back with that same run, you know, and there was some talk between all of us that, you know, they were pinching in right there, and so let's try to get around them on an outside zone that we had a lot of success on, you know, throughout the game, and man, we just didn't get the edge sealed on this particular play. They beat us on that play, so we go backwards, you know, 5 yards, I believe it was, and so now you're in 3rd and 12. And so, you know, at that point, you know, I didn't feel like with how aggressive they are in the back end, a run would be great there. And we've had a lot of success at that screen that we've hit, and we're Dalton Merriman not getting clipped up by that D end right there to maybe making a first down on that screen. You know, when you go back and you really look at it, and so. Yeah, you know, that all comes down to that second down call, you know, and again, that's on me. It had been successful for us throughout the game, and they beat us on that play, and that's just kind of part of it. But we got to be better there. You know, I mean, the expectations are what they are here, man. We got to go score what we can to win the football game. And again, that's my mentality. At some point, I'm sure there's going to be a game where it's going to be that Iowa State 2 years ago, and we got to go win a game 14-10. You know, at the end of the day, that's the stat to me that matters. You know, at the end of the game, getting that W, not the L. So.
Zach and Jeff.
Coach, I know you know the elephant in the room as far as the road record, and but I know in the past 3 years now you've had to deal with a lot of injuries, whether that be Taj Brooks this past year at Washington State, or it be basically 5 different quarterbacks as well that you're having to deal with. So, but within these 2.5 years, you're averaging 38 points at home, 20 on the road. And so what has been that biggest factor with the offensive success on the road?
Yeah, you know, I mean, I think it starts with me, of course. You know, I got to get in a rhythm early, you know, and you know, I think now, especially with we know exactly who we are, and we got to get 28 in a rhythm, you know, and I think we get 28 in a rhythm, that gets 2 in a rhythm. And so we got to start fast, which we've done this year, you know, for the most part, and just getting everybody comfortable. You know, you are playing in a different environment. You know, I've heard this place is going to be loud and exciting and 50,000, and we're playing at, you know, 8 p.m. their time, you know, and so it's going to be rowdy and good. So we got to just get our guys, settled in and just play football. You know, I mean, that's what it really comes down to. And you know, Coach McGuire was telling our guys on Sunday, you know, their field's, you know, 100 yards long just like ours is. They got a stadium just like ours, you know, stuff like that, as far as like, let's just go out there and be who we are and just play football. You know, I think that's the biggest thing, and, you know, we've got to be able to handle some success, you know, being 4-1 and playing good. You know, we got to be out there and go do it again, because at the end of the day, you know, what we did last week doesn't really matter anymore. You know, we got to try to go 1-0 this week against Arizona. So we just got to get our guys comfortable, you know, and prepare them for a rowdy environment. And we'll do that in practice with some crowd noises and stuff like that, and just try to operate at the high level like we have been this year.
Coach, what are some of the things that you've seen your team really improve this year, not named Taj Brooks, with regards to the offense, that maybe you weren't expecting, or that they really took the coaching and ran with it, that you've been pleased to see?
Yeah, I mean, I think Barron's having a really good year. I think if you go watch him last year, and again, I know he was hampered by injuries, so that's part of it. But man, I think he's becoming a smarter football player, understanding, you know, with his gunslinger mentality, he likes to throw the ball around the yard. But I think he understands where we're at as a football team, and, you know, being able to hand those balls off sometimes and not just pull the trigger, I think's helped us a lot. And then, you know, just all those guys really. I mean, I'm really excited about our 3 tight ends. You know, I know on the stat sheet it, you know, didn't show up as much this last week for those guys, but you know, the blocking that they're doing, you know, doesn't go overlooked by us for sure. You know, and they're doing a good job. And again, our skill players are doing well. And again, go back to the offensive line. I mean, we're rotating a lot of guys these first 5 weeks, and guys are playing some different positions. And you know, I think it's just been a whole group effort by everybody, you know. And again, that, you know, starts with 28, which you were just talking about him. But I just feel like our guys have been locked in. You know, I think one of the biggest things that I've seen these last 3 weeks is we are practicing at a very high level Tuesday through Friday. And again, that carries over how you practice, how you play. And our guys have been practicing really hard, and I think that's really where it starts for us, and we got to keep that going.
Going to the blocking for your receivers, who is the best blocker for your group? Who's the guy you wish you could clone and show and have him be all of your receivers in the whether it be in the screen game or the run block game, that absolutely can control where you need the defenders to go to open up those lanes?
Yeah, I mean, you know, they all do good. Coy Aiken is up there. You know, he's, you know, big, strong, physical guy. I think he does a really good job. Caleb Douglas is good on the perimeter as well. I mean, probably those two guys, it helps having some length a little bit too, for those guys, the smaller guys, it is what it is. They don't have the usually the strength or just the length to get hands on is good. But even like Josh Kelly, man, when he's on the perimeter, he does a good job. But yeah, I'd probably go with Coy number 1 and Caleb number 2.
All right, anyone else? Cool. Good.
All right. Coach, what's been the key for the wide receiver room this year? Just having so many places to go to with the ball compared to last year. We had expectations like this season, but it just didn't really work out.
Yeah, again, I think it comes down to some continuity and familiarity a little bit. I feel like, I know Josh and Caleb have only been here for 8-9 months now, but there's just a chemistry between them and Barron. And I've said it multiple times. Other than Taj, as far as the receiver position goes, Coy's kind of been that guy, and we saw that really late last year too. That he was kind of a guy that Barron wanted to lean on. They're good buddies, and they stay after practice and throw extra routes together and stuff like that. They've been doing that since they've been here, and I think that's some of it, and then whenever you're running the ball as effectively as we are right now with the healthy quarterback, I mean, it just opens everything else up. So I think that helps. And again, being able to get our tight ends involved the way we've been able to do it this year, just multiple personnel groupings, different formations with those guys. I mean, I just think we're able to keep the defense on their heels a little bit more and keep it kind of unexpected of what's coming at them.
Zach, next to last series, where y'all are down there, first and goal to 5, 7-point lead, and it's 41-34. You mentioned a moment ago, Barron should have instead of pulling it, should have gone ahead and handed it. So you lose one. That's on second and goal, went 10 personnel. Barron, I think, kind of throws it away, and then 3rd and goal, 13, and the jet sweep kind of got blown up. Kind of what was kind of the thinking there on 2nd and 6? I guess seemed to be kind of the key play there, or second goal at the 6.
Yeah, came back with a play we had hit them on earlier in the game. Same thought process, and they did a good job covering us up. And we got some interior pressure right there, so we had to get out of the pocket. I feel like if we would have maybe not gotten flushed, maybe we would have had a throw on the back end line. You see Coy coming across the formation late there. We got flushed out of the pocket to our right, and I thought Barron did a good job at that point throwing it away. But yeah, I got to get a better call in there. That's that one drive that's still sticking with me a little bit there.
Well, some folks have said, why not just pound it with Taj there, one play after another?
Yeah, I mean, they did a good job down there. We came in a couple times, had some Wildcat stuff. We're trying to get some extra hats down there a little bit. We've got the stuff that we've done with Jalen Conyers down there too. But I've got to the point where I do want to try to get 28 some touchdowns when he's down there too. I mean, he carries the load for us all the way down the field. I'd like to reward him, trying to get him in the end zone. And we ran a couple plays down there, and they stopped us early, and then we kind of had I wouldn't call it a trick play, but kind of the quick sugar huddle and snap and speed sweep or the toss there on the edge. A couple of those things, and we felt like at that point we had kind of repped some of those that we felt good about. And then other than that, we just again, I think if we go back, we could get that first down handed off. I think we'd be probably at least at the 3 to 4 yard line probably after you watch it on tape. I think there was a hole there for Taj maybe to get some more. And again, if we would have got some more yards there, we probably would have went back to a run. But again, that's on me. It just was what it was.
All right, that'll wrap it up for today. We'll be back in here tomorrow.